Have you heard the story of the double-fish Jade Pendant as one of China's top 10 paranormal incidents? The double-fish Jade Pendant is still widely talked about today. How convoluted and bizarre is the story behind it? Today, let's talk about it in detail. To understand the story of the double-fish Jade Pendant, you definitely can't ignore the disappearance of Peng Jiamu in Lop Nuer. Speaking of Peng Jiamu, some people may not be familiar with him, but without him, China might still have to rely on imports to meet its agricultural fertilizer needs. However, his disappearance and parallel universes. Some say he traveled back to ancient times and became the historical figure Wang Meng. Others say he went to the United States. Some even claim he was taken by aliens to another parallel universe. Why are there so many bizarre legends? What exactly happened with his disappearance? In 1980, Peng Jiamu led a group into Lop Nuer for an expedition. After completing the original survey work as planned, they should have returned directly to Urumqi. However, Peng Jiamu made a last-minute decision to continue the exploration deeper. It was precisely because of this temporary decision that Peng Jiamu and his team were insufficiently prepared, causing the expedition team to lose their way. They ran out of fuel and water. To find a solution, Peng Jiamu decided to send out a distress call to the nearest base. The base quickly responded. But Peng Jiamu believed they needed a two-pronged approach, and that they should try their best to find water themselves. Although his teammates disagreed, still, Peng Jiamu still left a note saying, "I'm going east to look for water," and vanished. No matter how the expedition team and the base searched, they could never find him again. Perhaps some people will ask, what does this have to do with the double-fish Jade Pendant? Let's turn back the clock to 2009. This was when the double-fish Jade Pendant was first linked to Peng Jiamu's disappearance. At that time, someone posted on the Tianya forum, asking if China had an official agency for paranormal investigations. Someone responded that after Peng Jiamu's disappearance, China established an official agency for paranormal incident investigation. Netizens' discussion of this matter grew higher and higher. A netizen named 218 brought new heat to the post. He stated that he was a retired soldier who had served in the Northwest. But before he could reveal any useful information, another netizen directly stated, "If you dare to talk about anything related to the double-fish Jade Pendant, we will make you disappear instantly." Following this death threat, 218 never posted any further comments. However, the netizens' interest was fully piqued. After fierce discussion, no conclusions were reached. It wasn't until much later that a netizen suddenly broke the news and revealed the truth of Peng Jiamu's situation in Lop Nuer. The reason Peng Jiamu went to survey Lop Nuer at that time was actually because the weather there suddenly became abnormal, and the surface environment had undergone a major change for a period of time, but it returned to its original state not long after. Peng Jiamu went to investigate this very event. This investigation truly uncovered something incredible. It was here that they discovered a largely intact engineering facility. In the facility, there were also a large number of devices with unexplainable functions, and the double-fish Jade Pendant was one of them. The reason it's called the double-fish Jade Pendant is not because the pendant is shaped like two fish connected head to tail, but because researchers used the double-fish Jade Pendant during an experiment and accidentally discovered its function. The subject of the experiment at the time was a fish. After the pendant was activated, this fish actually replicated an identical fish. Peng Jiamu didn't simply disappear. Rather, under the effect of the double-fish Jade Pendant, another Peng Jiamu was replicated. In other words, there were two Peng Jiamus at the time. This is what is known as a mirror person. However, this revelation has no evidence to this day and doesn't sound very scientific. You should just treat it as a story. But some people also used this story to unearth even more bizarre things. Not long after Peng Jiamu disappeared, The legend of the mirror person appeared in Lop Nur. These people were mostly tomb raiders, Xingximojin Shaowei, attempting to find the ancient Lulan ruins in Lop Nur. It's unclear if they found anything, only that when they returned, they had generally gone insane and were incoherent. What's even scarier is that these people appeared in pairs. They left as a single person, but returned as two identical people. Moreover, the internal organs and physiological structure of one person were completely opposite to the other. Most importantly, when these insane people were in a frenzy, if they scratched or bit others, those people would also become infected, just like a zombie virus. It wasn't until the successful Lop Nur nuclear test in 1964 that these mirror people completely vanished. At the same time, the legend of the mirror person gradually disappeared. Therefore, some people suspect that the choice of Lop Nur as the nuclear test site was actually intended to completely eliminate these mirror people. What the facts are, we don't know, of course. Besides the double fish Jade Pendant's ability to mirror and replicate, there are still many people who have other speculations about the double fish Jade Pendant. For example, the double fish pendant might be a superhuman civilization's time machine or a material transfer device. It might have been used for long-distance transport of some kind of material. Scientists still use fish for the experiment. Before replicating this fish, they marked one side of the fish. But unexpectedly, the replicated fish also had the mark. Only the position was opposite. To prove the relationship between the two fish, researchers injected one of the fish with poison, causing it to die quickly. As a result, the other fish also died after 7 hours. The researchers speculated that these two fish were actually the same one, just different manifestations in different spatio-temporal states. Some people even wildly speculated that the clone of Peng Jiamu at the time, under the effect of the double fish Jade Pendant, traveled through time to the Han Dynasty and invented the vernier caliper and enacted policies like freeing slaves and equalizing land rights. That's right, they believe Peng Jiamu time traveled and became Wang Meng, So, regarding the disappearance of Peng Jiamu, what other secrets are there? Due to copyright requirements, you can download Funky Changting Tomato Listening and then search for Miwan, Luobupu Mysterious, Lop Nur. It details the legendary events of Peng Jiamu. The full text is free.